That's stupid. The gun situation in America. I dare to say that no matter if you're a fan or a critic of the American gun laws in general, you will agree with me that as it is right now, with both sides entrenched behind their convictions and mostly engaging in emotional and often outright immature discussions, that this situation is pretty stupid. Neither calling the NIA child murderers nor creating a narrative of fear and paranoia is constructive, and having an unpredictable flip-flopper as commander-in-chief is not helping either. A little disclaimer: being a European who was born and raised in a country where privately owned guns are a rarity, I can obviously not identify with the self-image of a country that felt the need to include gun rights in their constitution. Then again, I have never in over 30 years been afraid of getting shot. Not in school, not in college, not when I was walking alone at night through some of the shadier parts of town. The idea that my nieces ever would be afraid of wearing blinking shoes after an active gun shooter drill is outright absurd to me. Not at least because we don't have shooting drills here in Germany. We don't really need them with only 4 school shootings since World War II. Now, if you think you have already figured out where this video is heading, I might still be able to surprise you. I will admit that I have a rather critical view on American gun laws, but unlike so many people on the internet, I am willing to listen to what the other side has to say. Quite literally. I recently had an over 7,000 word long debate with a fellow who was very outspoken in favor of putting guns into the hands of every good honest citizen. This exchange allowed me to get a good view into the inner workings of the mind of somebody from the quote other side. Many of his arguments were down the line of fighting symptoms of the current situation instead of looking into the causes. One point he emphasized was the call for law enforcement to do their job properly. On a surface level, I have to agree. Yes, it is literally in their name to enforce the law, including gun abuse. But this is very easy to demand when you don't have to actually deal with armed people on a daily basis. Why do you think policemen in the US are so trigger happy? Pushing all responsibility for the country with the highest number of guns per capita solely on the shoulders of those few people who already dedicated their life to public service seems pretty disrespectful to me. A similar issue of dealing with symptoms instead of the actual problem was his suggestion of increased school security. While my dialogue partner started out with invoking the wisdom of a security consultant, you know, a man who literally earns money by selling security plans to schools, and pointing to armed guards in schools in Israel, an actual civil war zone, he eventually pointed me to a program where police representatives are regularly present in schools, but not just as guards, but also as educators and problem solvers. To be honest, this actually sounds like a cool idea. Instead of cops being a threatening distant entity, kids can get to know them as approachable, helpful people. But it once again put all responsibility to handle the constant threat of shootings on them. Then there is a call for GVROs. The idea is that when people like family notice that a gun owner is trouble, they can call the authorities to confiscate the weapons. Apparently this kind of system had already helped reduce cases of domestic violence. 2 problems with it though. First, you need a reporter close to the gun owner to notify the authorities to begin with, which is why GVROs have only been successful in reducing domestic gun violence. Second, taking the guns away only after it became clear that the person is troubled seems pretty backwards to me. How about not giving troubled people guns in the first place? This question leads us to the big buzzword all pro-gun folks, including the fellow I was talking to, always bring up as some kind of concession. Don't give guns to people with mental health issues. Well, that's conveniently vague. You do realize the term mental health issues also includes depression, OCD, ADHD and so on, right? For somebody who tries to advocate that the populace should be armed, to declare such a large part of it unfit to own guns seems counterintuitive. Unless you mean specifically people who display violent behavior as a consequence of a mental health issue. In this case, please say it this way instead of using a buzzword that throws tens of thousands of good people under the bus. On a related note, the fact you bring this up implies that you have been giving guns to such people? Why would you do that? Rhetorical question, because I know the answer. The Second Amendment. For the longest time I was wondering what this infamous article contains, that it allows every average Joe to just walk into a Walmart and buy a deadly weapon without any restrictions. The reason why many Americans literally believe that owning guns is synonym with the right of self-defense. I was intimidated by the idea of a bulletproof, no pun intended, wall of text that covers every angle to prevent any misinterpretation. But given my recent exchange with this young NRA fan, I took the step and checked it out. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Wait, can we turn it around? Maybe there's more on the backside? No? Okay. Well, I guess we all agree that the first part about the militia can be ignored, since nobody except Switzerland actually cares about this idea and is willing to put in the effort to have an organized militia. American gun owners sure as hell don't seem to be up for that. But yeah, the second half. Let's ignore for a moment that the majority of arguments people like to bring up to justify armed civilians are either outdated or self-defeating, and say, okay, the Second Amendment, aka the right to bear arms, is great and necessary. Even so, most first world countries are doing fine without. I actually don't even see any reason to update this literal one-liner. The phrase, the right shall not be infringed, just says that everybody has a hypothetical right to bear arms. The context, however, is left so wide open that it really only matters how people want to interpret it. For example, you could read it as an extension of the first half, as in, you wanna bear arms? Cool! Join the militia and you get your gun. But in face of the American self-identity, how about the following less brutal approach? Every civilian has the right to own private firearms. However, in order to utilize this right, they need a license for the type of gun they want to own. Just like a driver's license. Everybody is allowed to get it, but for the safety of the owner as well as others, they need to study the proper usage as well as prove that they are capable of handling the responsibilities. Then give it a transition period of a decade or so in which current gun owners can make their licenses so that every good and honest citizen can keep their guns. Bam! Problem solved without any weapon bans or changes to the constitution. Joking aside, guys, I am sure the vast majority of gun owners and gun law critics is sick and tired of the ongoing fighting among each other. Instead of antagonizing each other, look into productive solutions so good people can keep their guns, but with effective regulations that keep weapons out of dangerous hands. To reach this goal, you need to stop being stubborn, stop calling each other names, and most importantly, stop making the gun debate about winning. Because that's stupid. Moment of honesty. This has been the first That's Stupid where I'm not completely happy with my writing even before your critical feedback. Not really surprising given that this topic has been splitting America for ages at this point. So here's a TLDR for this video. TLDR stands for Too Ludicrous Didn't Register, obviously. Yes, I think America has far too many guns in the country. I mean, for fuck's sake, they literally have more guns than people. But I understand that guns are so deeply ingrained in their culture that they simply cannot do what Australia did and perform a hard cut. So both sides need to get over themselves and find a working compromise that actually reduces the amount and caliber of guns in the country. Nothing else will work. Well, let's hope that next time will be more fun when I tell you why I think Superman is stupid.